Hi everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about manifestation and abundance. This is a topic that's really quite important to me and quite close to my heart because my own personal journey through life has been quite influenced by my financial situation and my financial situation that I grew up with through my parents and family. And without even realizing it from a very young age, I've been working with the law of attraction and with manifestation. And as I got older, I was able to understand it more. However, I instinctively was working with it as a young child. So I've really come to achieve great success and mindset around manifestation and abundance, and a lot of it has been a result of me deprogramming myself with what I was programmed with through my parents and their parents, and really breaking those generational programs and ideas around money and wealth and worthiness. And then once those patterns were realized and those programs started to be broken down, then replacing those with something that was more in alignment with who I was and what I wanted from life, and really more in alignment with what I deserved out of life, because we all deserve to be abundant, whatever your definition of abundance is, whether that be financial abundance, wealth of friends and family, whether you aspire to have just your own home or whether you aspire to own 10 homes. It doesn't really matter what your definition of abundance and wealth is, but I believe we all deserve to have our definition of what wealth and abundance is. And I also truly believe that it's within all of our grasp to have that which we desire and that which we really want out of life. So while I will be covering today my 5 favorite stones for working with abundance and wealth, the wealth attraction, I just want to give you a little bit of a background as to where I've come from and how I've now applied what I've learned to my life to really change things around for myself and my family. So I come from a broken family. My parents divorced when I was 4 and my brother was 2, and we went with my mum, and this was back in the early 80s before there were, the courts kind of equally divided property and things like that. So mum really struggled. She wasn't earning much money. We lived in a very small flat, a 2-bedroom flat for the 3 of us that she was getting cheap from a relative, and we had all secondhand clothes. I was the only one at my school whose mum hand sewed her school uniform, and I used to always look around at my friends and classmates who had all these yummy things in their lunch boxes, and I'd just have a sandwich and an apple, or something really boring and cheap. And I remember things got so bad at one time that mum would raid our piggy banks where we had loose change from birthdays and whatnot, just to buy food to put on the table. And probably at our lowest point, we were wearing all secondhand clothes. And I recall for dinners, we would just be having white rice with ketchup on it, or tomato sauce if for Australians. So yeah, things got pretty dire for a while. We certainly never had any of the finer things, but we were always very dearly loved, and we always had a roof over our heads and clothes on our bodies, even if they were secondhand. So I've really come from this place of poverty and not having, and even as I grew up and got older, we never had a lot. Things did improve for my mum. She got remarried, and when there was a second income in the household, she eventually bought a family home, and we got some nicer things, and we got new things. They certainly weren't from high-end department stores, but we had new clothes for the first time ever, really, and things did improve, but we never had excess. And in our house, there was always the words, we can't afford, we don't have the money. Everything we looked for was always the cheapest, the lowest priced. Holidays were always budget, and that was just imprinted in my DNA, this idea of lack or not having enough, and that wealth was just so far beyond my realm of a personal experience that I didn't even think about it. I never even aspired to be wealthy or have financial abundance. It was just completely off my radar. It was almost like I'd accepted my programming and that was the way it was always going to be for me. And I didn't even look outside of that as a possibility. So anyway, I lived my life and I always, kind of got by, and I traveled a lot. And I think a lot of my friends started becoming successful and having careers, and I never aspired to have wealth. Any spare money I had, I spent traveling. I've had a wonderful life experience, and I wouldn't change any of it for a second. But accumulating wealth and considering myself abundant from a materialistic point of view was just never still on my radar. And eventually my husband and I, we had our children, we moved into a small country town. He got a really well-paying job compared to any other job either of us have ever had. And all of a sudden we had more money than we've ever had in our lives. And we were still quite frugal. I still bought secondhand clothes. My children are poster children for secondhand shops, by the way. I absolutely love secondhand shops. We call them op shops in Australia. But once again, I just never, ever thought about finer things or desired them. Even when the money started being there, I still didn't consider myself wealthy or abundant. It just was not part of my identity. And then we started getting more and more financially secure, and then we were going on holidays, and my moment of transformation and what was the turning point of realization for me was one day we were on holiday for I think it was a 4-day holiday. We lived in we didn't live in a really beautiful part of Australia, but we were very close to a lot of beautiful parts of Australia. So because of my husband's shift work roster, it gave him a lot of time off, and we were able to still do a lot of traveling nearby where we lived. So we were on one of our little 3 or 4 day getaways in one of the most beautiful and exclusive parts of Australia, which is called Noosa, for any of you Aussies out there on the Sunshine Coast. Absolutely gorgeous. Richard Branson owns an island in Noosa, to give you an idea of how lovely it is. So we were sitting there on this riverside cafe, drinking our fancy fair trade organic coffee, which was about $6 a cup. And we were talking about which private school we were wanting to send our son to the following year. And these, wealthy ladies were walking past me, and they were these middle-aged ladies in designer clothes, and they had beautiful gold jewelry on. And I turned to my husband, and I just started saying the words, and I caught myself, and it was like, I don't think I could have been less surprised if someone had have come along and cracked a watermelon over my head. It was this aha moment where I was just about to say to him, oh, look at us sitting here drinking our fancy coffee in Noosa, rubbing shoulders with the rich and famous. We could almost be wealthy. And I caught myself before I said the words, and I kind of just sat there in shock for a second. And my husband's like, "What, Kate? What's wrong? Why are you looking like that? What's going on? Are you having a stroke?" And I said to him, "Oh my God, I was just about to say these words." I said, "But here we are. We're sitting in Noosa. We didn't have to financially plan for this holiday. Some people plan all year to have a holiday in Noosa. We just decided last week that we needed a getaway, and here we are. We're paying $6 a cup for, fancy coffees. We're talking about which private school we'll be sending our son to next year." And I was just about to have the audacity to sit here and say we could almost be wealthy, as though, I was still stuck in that poverty mindset. How dare I? How dare I carry on that mindset? Not only globally, how many people are struggling and suffering in the world? Talk about first world problems and first world reality check. But I realized that abundance and wealth is 100% mindset. It's nothing else. It's 100% mindset. And I was still, in my mind, that poor 6-year-old girl wearing secondhand clothes, eating white rice and ketchup for dinner, and, you know, whose mum would frequently sit crying, not knowing how she was going to pay for the next week's groceries in the living room. I was still that little girl, and I was still that girl that watched all her friends start accumulating wealth and never desired to have it because it never was part of my identity. It could have been a self-worth part of, you know, I never found myself worthy of it. Whatever it was this, like, if it had been a cartoon, glass would have shattered. It would have been that glass cracking, shattering sound. It was such a big realization. And I actually went, oh my God, we're wealthy. We've made it. Look at us. You know, sure, we don't have millions of dollars. We're not staying at the Hilton. We're staying in this nice, moderately priced apartment. And I'm not carrying around a Louis Vuitton handbag. You know, my handbag's $20 from the secondhand shop or whatever. But it was just this idea of wealth is, if you believe yourself wealthy and abundant, you are so wealthy and abundant, and there's no limit as to how much more wealth and abundance you can accumulate, whatever wealth and abundance means for you. Now, for me, wealth and abundance, there's definitely a financial element of it, but it's much more than that as well. It's about having a family whose options are not limited by the dollar. I don't want, you know, we had a son with special needs, so I didn't want our choice of which school he went to be dictated by how much money we had. I wanted that choice to be dictated by which school was going to serve him best and allow him to grow up and shine the most. So that, to me, is true wealth, is to live a full life that is never dictated for you, or no decisions are ever dictated for you based on how much money you do or don't have. So, you know, even if I won $100 million lottery, I still wouldn't go out and buy a mansion. I wouldn't have a Lamborghini sitting in the driveway. To me, I don't value those things. That's not my idea of abundance. But, you know, organic food, sending my kids to the best schools, traveling frequently. You know, my husband's from Canada, and so we've never had all our family together in one time and place because we're always divided. So being able to create more family togetherness by, you know, paying for family to all come together, or supporting our parents in their retirement, that's abundance to me. That's my motivation for wealth. So I think as a prequel to doing any type of abundance and manifestation work, crystals, meditation, it doesn't matter what you do, you have to have the right mindset. If you haven't changed your mindset and created a manifestation and abundant mindset, it doesn't matter what you do, it's not going to work, because it has to start with your mind. So and you have to get yourself out of this mentality and this state of lacking all the time, which we all do. We all are guilty of doing that. Even after breaking that mindset and having that realization, it's been 3 or 4 years now of almost daily practice and, you know, constantly, and I still find myself slipping. I think that's just human. And so it's a conscious decision every day to maintain this mindset and catch yourself in those moments when you start, you know, experiencing those thoughts of lacking or not enough or ingratitude, to snap yourself out of it and come back to that place of gratitude. And so once I made that realization on this day, I went home and I journaled furiously, and I was so inspired, and it was just such an epic moment for me when I realized, oh my God, we have so much to be grateful for. And I was just about to be so audacious as to say that we were still lacking, you know. And so that's when I started a gratitude journal, which I don't write in daily anymore because I don't need to. But for the first 12 months, I wrote in that thing daily. And I made sure that every single day I found at least 3 things to be grateful for. And some days that was really hard. You know, some days I would have pages full of things I was grateful for, and other days I had to, you know, scrape the bottom of the barrel of my mind and heart to come up with things that I was grateful for. And I don't mean grateful for like, I can't think of anything. Yeah, okay, I'm grateful, I'm grateful for that nice shirt that I bought yesterday or whatever. I mean really grateful that you feel on a heart level, not just a gratuitous level. So it was things like, some days even when the kids had been monsters and I was, in a really bad mood, or things that all seemed to go wrong, it was having to really change my state and come out of this place of woe is me and, this state of less than, and come to a place of gratitude. Part of that was never using the word can't afford anymore, ever. That is not part of my lingo. I don't use it. My husband uses it sometimes and it drives me crazy. He may as well be dragging his fingernails down a chalkboard. He may as well be swearing, I call it the A word. It's a terrible word. It's a curse word. So it's about rewriting not only your mental programming, but yourself, the language that you're using, noticing what you think and what you unconsciously say, which then kind of fuels this lack and this thought process within yourself. So we really have to get to the bottom of that and undo all of it. So part of it is, number one, keeping a gratitude journal and start learning to transmute states of ingratitude and less than into states of gratitude, and really honoring what you do have in your life. It may not be the best or exactly what you want, but holy crap, you're so lucky to have what you have, and it's so much more than most people have. So we honor that and we give thanks for that. And once we raise our vibrational state to this place of abundance, and I found almost immediately or within a couple of months, I was kind of bouncing around with this sense of joy. Like it was like a big weight had been lifted off my shoulders that I didn't even know I'd been carrying. And I was like, oh my God, I've been carrying around this burden of belief, that my mum put on me, that her parents put on her, that their parents put on them. No one's at fault here. Like we all, as parents, we all imprint on our children, no matter how hard we try not to, myself included. But we don't have to carry that. We don't have to accept it. We do by default because we're too young to know better when we're little. But once we get to, a mature age and we're self-aware, we don't have to carry their crap. We don't have to have the same belief systems. And it didn't serve me. And I just felt such this sense of freedom. And with that came this sense of joy. And literally within about 2 months, my whole world shifted. My business took off, the money started rolling in, our lives changed for the better. We were able to see, the money manifested, to see some holistic healing practitioners that I'd been really wanting to see, but we didn't have the money for previously. Options opened themselves up, opportunities opened themselves up. And it's pretty much been smooth sailing ever since. And it's just, yeah, sure, there's times when shit hits the fan and, we're spending more than we're saving, or things don't go to plan, but that's life. It's never, without its obstacles. And we want those obstacles to grow, so we grow personally. But so before we go on to working with crystals, you have to get your mindset right, or you will get very limited, if any, results at all. Now, thank you for staying with me through that story. I really hope it helped inspire you and give you a little bit of insight as to what the journey is when it comes to manifestation and working with abundance, and how I've been through that journey personally as well. So whenever I'm speaking or teaching or working with students, I am the first to say or not offer advice if I don't feel like I genuinely can offer it from a place of personal experience and keep my integrity intact. So anything that I talk about or share with you on this channel has come directly from my personal experience. I back it 110%. I stand by it, and I've personally lived it. So I promise you, if I could come from that place of where I was raised into where I am now, you can too. And it is 100% mindset. So let's start, shall we, with the crystals. So when we're talking about abundance, it's important to realize that it's not a single solution. So as you gained from my story, there's lots of elements about becoming abundant and attracting wealth into your life. You have to get the mindset right. You have to be clear in your intentions. The universe certainly can't deliver if you're not clear on what you want. You have to have integrity. So You can go through life and accumulate wealth through underhanded means, but eventually that will catch up with you and bite you in the backside. So we always want to keep integrity intact. And if you keep your integrity intact and share your gift with the world in an honorable way, then the abundance that you manifest will be tenfold when compared to if you did it in an underhanded way. We also need to be grateful. So we have to find gratitude within ourselves. We have to open ourselves up to being a magnet for wealth and abundance. Opportunities are around us all the time, but we need to have the mindfulness and the attraction vibration going on within ourselves to actually capture and attract those opportunities. So there's a lot more than just this crystal will help you manifest wealth. It doesn't work that way, okay? So to do healing properly, sure, you might read a book that says this crystal's good for this, that crystal's good for that, but that's very one-dimensional. And healing and life and human bodies and people, we're not one-dimensional, we're complex and everything's interwoven. Life is multi-leveled, everything's connected, and that's the same with healing. We have to approach healing from a multi-dimensional perspective. So I'm not just going to say, here's one crystal, it's good for abundance, off you go and enjoy your wealthy lifestyle, because it's not going to work that way. We have to get to the root of what's holding us back from being abundant. So first of all, I'm going to start with my number 5 pick. So let's go with Tiger's Eye for number 5. What I love about Tiger's Eye is it's a very harmonizing stone. So you can see that it's got the gold and the brown. So Tiger's Eye actually brings together earth and astral energies, brown being for earth, gold being for astral or spiritual. So Tiger's Eye is wonderful for many things, but it resonates with the solar plexus. Now, this is the energy center within us that is the seat of our self-confidence, our inspiration, our ability to manifest. So first of all, Tiger's Eye helps strengthen this area. It helps protect this area as well from undesirable influence. So it helps us first become confident in our gifts. So what it is that we have to offer the world. And if you think you don't have anything to offer the world, you absolutely have many things to offer the world. We are all born with beautiful and unique gifts to share with the world. And when I say gifts, you don't have to be an Olympic swimmer. You don't have to you have the highest IQ. You don't have to be the best at anything. A gift is simply something that you do best and that you love and that your soul sings when you do it. That's a gift. So Tiger's Eye helps us to connect with that passion and that inspiration to really find the gift within ourselves. But being a stone for earth and astral energies, it helps also align the earthly energies of desire and greed and wanting with the astral energies of, how that will serve our higher purpose, because there's a very big difference between greedy wanting to accumulate and abundance attracting, desiring to be abundant. The two, they may sound the same linguistically almost, the dictionary might put them as a similar meaning, but they're very different in energy, what those two kind of feelings carry energetically. So Tiger's Eye helps harmonize that and helps us not get stuck in this place of greed and wanting and that earthly, hungry desire. But the astral energy helps balance that out with more integrity and guided vision and guided desire, and then helping us use our gifts to manifest that which we want. Number 4 on my list is, I've got a few stones sitting here, and I haven't actually worked out their order yet. I'm just working through this intuitively as to how I would order it. So I'm going to go with copper here for number 4. You could also consider this to be pyrite, so copper or pyrite. Now, both of these are precious metals. So the reason why they've made the list is because most of us would associate abundance with financial or material wealth in some way, shape, or form. Even if it's not, a large amount, even if that doesn't make up 100% of what your idea of abundance is, I think for most of us, there is an element of financial security there. So that might be all you desire. You might just want to pay your house off or know that all your bills are going to be covered without stress. You know, someone else might want to have $10 million sitting in the bank to feel abundant. It's different for everyone, but there's some level of financial comfort and security there because that's the universal or the global currency, value currency that we've created. We've created money and finance as, you know, a global manifestation and a global entity representing value or wealth. So copper, pyrite, any precious metal represents that because we attach value to it. Think about gold and silver also. So instantly we are conditioned and energetically on a global scale, we associate precious metal with wealth. So working with copper kind of speaks to that part of us that associates precious metal with wealth and helps awaken that energy within ourselves to help us attract more financial wealth and more monetary wealth into our lives and items of physical value like jewelry. So this is why I am including a precious metal or pyrite, which is similar to a metal, but preferably a precious metal like copper or silver or even a gold nugget or something like that. I mean, it wouldn't be this big. If it was this big, it'd probably be, you'd cash it in. You wouldn't be placing it on your body, but a copper nugget is certainly not enough to retire on. So for now, I'm just going to be placing it on my body. Yeah, so that's why we've got copper on this list of stones that attract wealth and abundance. Number 3. I've got lapis lazuli. This could also be blue kyanite. So the two are interchangeable for this particular person. Remember how I mentioned about keeping integrity intact? This is where lapis lazuli comes in. So lapis lazuli resonates with the third eye chakra or the throat chakra. And this will help us keep our intention full of integrity and honorable. It also helps us express and communicate our gifts with the world because we all have gifts, but only a small number of us really, I guess, invest our energy into allowing those gifts to manifest to their full potential. So most of us get sidetracked by our job and life and kids, and we never actually follow our bliss. That's a really good way of putting it too. So lapis lazuli helps us connect with those things that really inspire and speak to us on a soul level, and then express those things with the world because the world needs those gifts. The world is hungry for those gifts from you. So it helps also keep integrity intact, which means your intention is honorable, that you're not putting yourself out there only to see what you can get back from the world. But it reminds you that this is a reciprocal thing, you know, on a higher level, that giving and receiving is a constant flow. We can't always receive, nor can we always give. It's a reciprocal flow, and the more you give to the world and the more you put out of your flow, the more you will get back and will come back to you because of your vibrational state. That means you're in state when you're giving of your gifts, that raises you up to a higher state and attracts more positivity and opportunity to you, especially when that comes from a place of integrity and higher connection. So that's why lapis lazuli is on the list of my master manifesting and abundance stones. Number 2 I'm up to is calcite. So this is actually a really pale violet calcite. Clear calcite is also good for this, but make sure whichever color of calcite you choose, it should be a very, very pale color, either violet or clear, and the stone should be as clear as possible. So it doesn't matter if it's got a few cracks in it, like this one has a few markings, but the actual stone and the quality of the stone is crystal clear. So it almost looks like cracked glass. It's so clear. And the reason why we need this is because to manifest anything, we have to be clear about what we want. We need clarity. We need vision. If someone asks you what you want for your birthday or for Christmas, if you go, I don't know, whatever, the chances are you're not going to get exactly what you want because you haven't been clear. You haven't vocalized and asked them for it clearly. The universe works the same way. It's constantly working for us. The universe doesn't work against us. It matches our vibrational state and it works with us and for us. But if you're not clear in what you're asking for and clear in what you want, then how can it possibly deliver for you? Tony Robbins actually has this wonderful story where he tells about walking past a homeless person in a park one night. And at that time, I think that must have been before bank cards and things were so popular, Tony Robbins had quite a lot of cash in his pocket to the tune of hundreds of dollars. And this homeless person asked him for some money and said, "Have you got $1, man?" Or something. I think when Tony Robbins tells it, he goes, "You got $1, man?" Something like that. Anyway, this guy asked Tony Robbins for $1, and Tony Robbins said, "Are you sure you just want $1?" And the guy said, "Yeah, man, just $1. That's all I want." Tony said, "Okay, here you go." And he pulled out his wallet, and this homeless person saw all these hundreds of dollars in his wallet, and Tony picked out a $1 and gave it to him. And the moral of that story, Tony Robbins says, is that you need to be specific. The universe always delivers exactly what you ask of it. So if you ask the universe for more money without specificity and without clarity, you might find yourself winning $10 on a scratchy, or you might cross the road and see a $5 note lying in the gutter. But is that really what you meant when you were asking for more money? Is that really going to change your life, that $5 or $10? Probably not. So you have to be clear. If you want X amount of, if you want $100,000 sitting in your bank, tell the universe, write it down, clarify it, create a vision board. By this time of this year, I'll have $100,000 sitting in my bank account. Or, if your idea of wealth and abundance is perhaps you dream of owning your own, cafe. Well then, be clear. I will have a cafe on this street by this time. I'll serve this food, and this is exactly what it's going to look like and be like. Be clear in what you want. And this stone, calcite, will help you find that clarity. It will help you refine your vision and create it to be crystal clear, so that then that vibration can be sent out to the universe and your wish can be delivered on. Right, finally, number one, I'm just looking at my clock here. We're at half an hour already. Goodness, this is turning out to be a long one, but there's so much to talk about. There's so much to cover when we're talking about manifestation and abundance. So number one is citrine. It goes a bit blurry when I bring it up close, but now citrine, oh my gosh, this stone is amazing. Citrine is a stone of light, positivity, inspiration. It sits at the solar plexus chakra, which is located below the heart where your bottom ribs meet. And it is a stone. It doesn't absorb any negative energy. It doesn't really even need to be cleansed, although I do still cleanse my citrine stones, because it is pure light. So anything at the solar plexus is going to help you manifest and attract abundance, because it brings you into that abundant state. Like I mentioned with the tiger's eye, it helps you connect with your gifts, inspiration, but citrine just takes it to the next level. It is amazing. It just beams that light energy through you. So work with citrine to actually come up with your ideas. How are you going to be an active participant in your own abundant journey? We don't just sit back and wait for this, whatever it is you're desiring, to fall into your lap, because the chances are it's not going to happen. And would you really deserve it to happen if you sat there and took a completely passive role in your own life? Put yourself out there, come up with a plan, take positive action steps, and the universe will respond. And citrine is going to help you to do that. It's going to help you find that light, because it is a stone of light. It's going to help you to shine your gifts with the world and express the best part of yourself. And when you're shining, think of someone you might know who's beaming and shining and putting themselves out there, and are they like a magnet or not? Of course they are. Of course they are. People want to be like them. People want to be with them and near them and bask in their glow. So be that person. Create your own glow, so that not only other people, but the universe is attracted to you and works with you to manifest what it is that you want.